I have burned out more times than I care to count, truly, way more times than I care to share. And I always just thought it was because I was not working hard enough. I was just not doing enough. I wasn't built for this. But it turns out that I'm just a human being, and nobody told me that was allowed. Hello, my beautiful entrepreneurs. My name is Tabitha, and welcome to A Hot Mess Builds an Empire. I help day one entrepreneurs take that first terrifying leap into business ownership without completely losing their minds in the process. This channel is dedicated to the people who are standing on the edge of something really scary, but also equally just as marvelous, wondering if they are absolutely unhinged for even considering the jump. Before we get started in today's episode, I just want to let you know that Hot Mess Triage is open on Sundays and Tuesdays. That is my one-on-one coaching service that was at the request of my lovely followers here on YouTube. And we talk about your business. We talk about getting you a 30 or 60-day plan where we help you build a foundation with systems and processes in place to help you be successful. And it's been a lot of fun for me. It was a new challenge and I'm really enjoying it. And if you're just looking for a little extra help, you can book with me using the link in this description and it'll take you to my Stan store, and it's called Hot Mess Triage. And I am just so looking forward to learning more about your business. Today we are talking about burnout and kind of how to avoid it as best as possible. Because I think as entrepreneurs, and especially as brand new entrepreneurs, it's very easy to fall into this trap of, I'm not working hard enough. I have to hustle, I have to grind, I have to hustle, I have to grind. Like there's this hustle culture that I think has become quite toxic to the entrepreneurial community. And I just think it's so important to notice the red flags of when you're starting to run on fumes, what you can do to alleviate that. And I'm going to be talking about like my own personal burnout stories for sure, because I think not only is this channel about me, let's be honest here, but, I think it's important for you to see what I had experienced that maybe you could go, oh man, I am in that same boat. So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what burnout looked like for me, so I want to preface this section with saying, that, I hit my watch really hard on the on the desk. I want to preface this first part by saying, for the longest time, I let my bipolar and my ADHD my ADHD was undiagnosed for the longest time, but I let my bipolar and depression go untreated for a long time. I was so heavily medicated as a kid. I truly don't remember things from being a teenager. And I just didn't want that anymore. So I went untreated for quite some time. And, because of that, I would get easily frustrated, easily depressed. The high peaks, the really low valleys, right? Like those were things that I just went through, not related to being an entrepreneur. And then I started seeing someone because I was just like, I can't live like this. And not only do I have like more little ebbs and flows here, but I was diagnosed with ADHD, which was an eye opener because I had no idea. I had no idea that I had ADHD. And what's so amazing about ADHD is like, it's just such a fascinating thing to have a neurodivergent brain. And to have someone tell you, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain just works differently. And to have that was like this amazing validation that I truly was struggling. I truly was trying my very best to work through something that I didn't know I had. I didn't know how to name to it. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought I was stupid. I just thought I was, sometimes you feel like maybe you're lazy, where you're just like, how do other people do this so easily? Like, obviously I'm dumb. And, to have that validation and have someone go, here's a little bit of medication that'll help you, what a game changer. Now, that is on a personal level. So to take care of myself on a mental health neurodivergent level, it did make it easier to show up being an entrepreneur. Now, did that change things being an entrepreneur? No. No, 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 no. Not in terms of like that hustle and grind culture that comes with it, but there were things that were easier to manage. Like I could sit down and complete a task without getting frustrated, without getting upset, without going down this really long rabbit hole of existential crises, right? I mean, those do still happen, but not in like this, I can't finish this task and I don't understand why I can't like just focus on it, or I don't understand why I can hyper focus on this, but I can't hyper focus on that. There were a lot of questions answered for me about how it is that my brain worked. And it took a little while to get used to the fact that, you know, I basically have to write my own playbook. And that explained why trying to use, now there's a double whammy here, trying to use playbooks from other entrepreneurs, it was pretty much for their business, right? This is what worked for me. This is what I'm doing, and you should do it too. You should do exactly what it is that I'm doing. And I would follow people blindly because I was like, well, obviously that's what I have to do, but I couldn't. Like it just, my brain couldn't. You know, and then there's also the aspect of like, we're all different. Our businesses are different. Everything's different. And, you know, even if you're in like the same niche as people, you're still a completely different human being. So, you know, burnout for me just was all these red flags, all these warning signs, and I just didn't pay attention to them. I thought it was because I wasn't doing enough, and I would push myself to go further, and I would push myself to go harder. And it did get to that breaking point where I had to see a therapist and I had to get medicated because I was like, I'm getting so depressed about being an entrepreneur. Like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And here, you know, it was just, I went untreated for quite some time. When I addressed that, then I addressed the burnout of being an entrepreneur. And some of that came from just your brain needs a rest. Like scientifically speaking, your brain needs a rest. Like you need to take breaks. You need to walk away from your computer. You need to walk away from your phone. And sometimes when you have a family and a full-time job and you're also trying to build your own business, it's really difficult to justify a 15-minute break when you're like, but this is all that I have. This is all the time that I have right now. But better to take the 15-minute break, give your eyes a break, get a glass of water, go to the bathroom, go outside, get some fresh air, and come back. Having a 15-minute refresh, you'll find that you could be more productive for maybe just a little bit longer than what you were anticipating to do for the night. So there's just so many things that went into things that I didn't do for myself as an entrepreneur that we're going to go through in this video. But I do just want to preface this that there was a lot of mental health struggles that I had to overcome myself and be an advocate for my own health and be an advocate for self. So if you are feeling in that capacity, I strongly encourage you to get help for yourself. You know, being diagnosed with ADHD in the middle of my entrepreneurial journey was an eye-opener, a huge eye-opener. So I just, you know, I can't recommend enough. And it's, you know, interestingly, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, the doctor told me that I fit the description, I fit the bill, with just everything I had been going throughout my life, how I am smart, but I really struggled in school, and couldn't really put a finger on why I struggled in school, even though I understood everything. And, you know, just like little things like that. And like other things that are attached to being ADHD. And, you know, if you are bipolar or depressed, if you are neurodivergent in other ways, you usually have ADHD. Like they're usually like a married couple when it comes to that kind of stuff, which I had no idea. And, he was telling me these other things when I was diagnosed. The doctor told me all these other things that I was like, yes, yep, that's me. I had to take like this really long exam and like answer all these questions and everything like that. And they were like, yeah, you have ADHD and you fit the bill. And a lot of women go undiagnosed with ADHD. And we find that now a lot of women in their mid to late 30s and 40s are being diagnosed with ADHD because it just goes unchecked in women. And I was just like, if I would have known as a teenager that I had ADHD, man, would that have been a game changer for me for so many things, for focusing, for getting schoolwork done, for maybe not beating myself up so much. There's probably things I would have gotten through a lot easier, but it doesn't present itself so aggressively the way it does with young boys, right? So, it's very interesting if you follow ADHD studies, very interesting. But there's a lot of women in their late 30s who are being diagnosed with ADHD, and I am one of them. I was diagnosed in my mid 30s. So yeah, that's part of my burnout story. A little long-winded, a little mental health related, but yes, that is part of my burnout story. So hopefully this kind of gives you an idea as to like everybody's going through something, everybody has something on their plate. And if you are struggling mentally, like I got a therapist and that helped, and I got medicated and that helped, and it helped me become more present with being able to be an entrepreneur. Did that help all the burnout? No, absolutely not. Are we going to go through all that stuff? Yes, absolutely. While I was talking, I had just like the biggest golden retriever hair on my eye, and I was like, what? I can't. There's literally like this sliver I can't see. And I just took a pause, and it was a Kevin hair. My dog Kevin, he's a golden retriever, and he just sheds like a mofo. Sheds a lot. And it's that time of year now where it's warm out, so he's really shedding. So crazy, so crazy. And he's not even allowed upstairs, but I hit the microphone. It's an episode. I had like the biggest Kevin hair in my eyeball, and I was just like, why can I not see? Because it didn't even look or feel like a hair. It just looked like a blind spot. Anyway, so there's one tool that I think would be very, very helpful, especially for day one entrepreneurs. It's the best tool you can have with you. And I know this is going to sound a little corny, but it is the best tool that you can have with you to see the red flags, to see the burnout coming, so you can address it so you don't burn out. And that is self-awareness. We dig ourselves in so deep because we're so committed. We see it. We believe in ourselves. We see the vision, right? Nobody sees the vision that you see. And the only other people who truly understand what it is that you are going through when it comes to trying to make that vision come to fruition are other entrepreneurs, right? And it's very easy to put the blinders on and just go for it. And sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you gotta like even set an alarm on your phone that goes off every 2 hours to be like, hey, you need a bio break. Hey, you need to stop looking at your phone and computer for 15 minutes. Like, put systems in place to help you be self-aware, because I know how easy it is to get hyper-focused on something and suddenly 5 hours has gone by and you're like, it's 2 a.m. and I'm exhausted, So I think it's really important to have that self-awareness about what takes more energy than not, what is really difficult to show up for versus what is very easy to show up for. I think for me, the burnout started to creep in when everything felt way harder than it should. There were things I was resenting a lot. And, my body started sending me signals to like that fatigue that just wouldn't go away no matter how much you napped or rested or slept or took a day off from being an entrepreneur. Like that fatigue just kind of followed you everywhere, like this gloomy cloud. And when you find yourself going through the motions, where you're not showing up as enthusiastically, right? When you're doing something and it doesn't have your whole heart the way it did maybe 2-3 months ago. If any of those sound really familiar to you, then you might be on a burnout train. And I just think it's really important to take a step back and catch your breath. Now, listen, this looks different for everybody. Relaxation is different for everybody. I know there are people who just love listening to heavy metal music and just chilling out. And then there's other people who I know I need to have quiet. I need to be in a bubble bath. I need the candles. Everybody is so different with this. So, I just think we need to look at the science aspect of it, and your brain just needs a break. Whatever that looks like for you, your brain scientifically needs a break. Your eyes will appreciate the break from the strain of looking at digital devices all the time. We live in such a digital world and everything is done virtually that it's really easy to get caught up for hours looking at your phone, iPad, computer, all of it, right? And then you're like, God, I have a massive headache, but I got to keep going. It's your body telling you to just stop for a minute. So, for me, it was a lot of physical red flags, like the exhaustion, the headaches, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Not exhaustion, but like the lack of motivation. And I know that I do say do the action first and motivation will follow, but it was like almost the lack of care started to show up, where I was just I just don't care. I just don't care. I'm just so tired. I just don't care. That all of that really physically weighed on me, like a big deal. It weighed on me. And that's where the burnout started then, where I was just I started to resent the things I was doing, and I started to feel less creative, but I would show up and I'd be like, well, I got to do it. And I was first of all, nobody's here threatening to kill me if I don't do it, right? It was just me holding myself accountable, and that's amazing. That's great, right? To hold yourself accountable, but at what cost? So when the creative well is dry, when the exhaustion is crazy, and you just seem to hate absolutely everything about your business, it's time to take a break. And I'm not talking a 9-month sabbatical. I mean, listen, I did 2 years of walking away from my business because I just thought I wasn't cut out for it. But turns out I just wasn't doing things for my brain. I wasn't doing things in a healthy way. I wasn't advocating for myself, all those things, right? And now that I'm back into the swing of things, it's been better. It's been great. It's been so fun to show up. Are some days more difficult than others? Absolutely. But, you got to be self-aware. You got to have those little things in place for yourself, such as reminders on your phone. Or if you are a person who does a schedule for the day, based on time slots, hey, 9 to 11, I'm doing this. And then 11 to 11:45, I'm having lunch. I'm taking a break from the computer. I'm walking away. I'm going to go eat outside. Don't touch your phone. Don't do any, give yourself a break. And you'd be surprised how you come back refreshed, fresh eyes, ready to go and start the second half of your day. You'd be very surprised what that does for you. And your brain really appreciates it, I assure you. So what are some things you can do to help the burnout process, right? So I think the first and foremost is a support system. This is a tough one if you do not have people in your life personally, like family or friends, that get it. Now, I have people in my life that are very supportive, and I'm very lucky for that. And, very adorably, last night my husband said to me, because I'm starting something new and it's a secret. I can't tell you yet. But I was telling my husband about what I had done yesterday, and he just looks at me and he goes, I believe in you. You'll do it. You'll do it. And it was just so lovely to have that, right? It's so lovely to have that from my spouse, because for the longest time, I think he didn't quite get like why I was chasing these things. And then he sees how happy it makes me to be a creative. He sees how happy it makes me to create new things or new ideas and chase them and be like, oh my God, this could be a whole business, and just to hear him say that was like really cool. It was just really cool. But for me, it starts at home, right? Like your home life, what does your support system look like at home? I know that there are entrepreneurs out there who have kids and they let their kids know like what it is that they're doing and that they're creating something and they're building something. And I know that the kids want to participate, or the kids are like, my mom is building this thing and, she's so cool. Look at what she's building. Like, I've seen people involve their children to the point where like their kids are their support system, and that can't happen for everybody. I understand that. Sometimes you're just kind of like, nope, this is me. My kids are not involved. My kids are involved in other things in my life. I'm not saying involve your kids in your business. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there are people who have done that and their kids became their support system. There are other support systems out there, like private communities for entrepreneurs, bloggers, podcasters, you name it. There is a private community out there. And I think this is really important because, you can have support at home, but if they're not in it with you, if you're building this business by yourself, they might not get it completely. So when you join these private communities of people who are sort of in the same boat as you, it's amazing how that camaraderie just like relaxes you. And you're just kind of like, yes, oh my God, yes, me too. Which, by the way, is why I built the mess hall for Day One Entrepreneurs, which happens once a month. You can find the link to that in my YouTube description. That'll take you to my stand store, and you can pick a date for a session you want to sign up for. Happens once a month. It's only $5. So I think that's pretty good. Anyway, you don't have to do this alone. Please don't do this alone, but build a support system around you, whatever it is that you need, what that looks like know what your needs are and go, okay, this is what I need from my spouse. This is what I need from my family. This is what I need from my friends. And if they can't deliver, that's okay. Don't hold them to something that you need, right? Like in the sense of, I need you to do this for me because I'm an entrepreneur now. But if it's like friends who just are very proud of you, but they don't understand the journey aspect of it because they prefer to work a traditional job, there are plenty of communities out there where people just go like, oh my God, today's been a day because of this. And everyone's like, yes, oh my God. And then this, and you're like, yes. Right. So, build a good support system for yourself, and you'll find that like, it's very easy to reach out to them and just be like, this happened today. And I have that, very, very gratefully, I have that with a couple of different communities, with the podcast community, with just being an entrepreneur in general. And then I have like a very specific group chat of ladies that I had a mastermind with in Thailand in November in 2025. And we have monthly calls. We text each other. We let each other know what's going on. And it's just really great because it's like, they don't just message you back. They like put their heart into what it is that they message you back. They send you voice messages and they pump you up. And it's just so great to have that. And I can't encourage that enough. So like, if you don't have a good support system, you can build it for yourself. It just requires a little effort to find the people, which I get can be annoying, but like Facebook groups has stuff. If you go to conventions, they have stuff. If you go to, depending on the entrepreneur that you may follow, that you really enjoy them, they may have a private community that you could join, or like a mastermind you could join, and you'd be surprised what just having that does for you. Okay, this next one is something I learned from like Google and my current job, and just needing to find something for my brain to do is give yourself creative playtime. This is such an amazing trick, and I don't want to say trick, but such an amazing habit that I did for myself. And I don't do it every week, but I give myself like 10% of my time every month that is dedicated to being an entrepreneur is creative playtime, because you are a creative person when you're an entrepreneur. Even if that's not like creative in like creating content sense, you are a creative person because you're an entrepreneur. You're you're just thinking of things all the time, right? Like, and your mind works differently as an entrepreneur, like how you monetize things and how you do things. And so all these ideas are always rushing all the time. Give them their space, give them their freedom. Allow yourself to be unhinged for an afternoon and just like, these are my ideas and this is what I'm doing and this is going to be amazing and here's this idea. Let it come out. Let it come out. Now, if you just have like one idea, let it have its moment in the sun. Even if it is not affiliated with what it is that you currently do, let it have its time in the sun. Let it breathe. Let it grow. Let it just like look like an idea on paper. And give yourself that creative playtime. Like, you'd be very surprised how healthy that is for you and your brain. And, not putting the pressure on yourself that, hey, I gotta stick to this schedule today, right? Like, no, it's just, like Google, for instance, whether you like them or hate them, they allow their employees creative playtime. And that's how we have things like not just Google search, but Gmail, Google Docs and Sheets, right? And, certain things with YouTube now, since they own YouTube, and certain behind the scenes like Drive and the work suites that we use for our businesses, because let's be honest, most of us have some type of Gmail workplace account connected to our websites and stuff. And, yeah, it's just amazing what happens when you give yourself that creative playtime, what comes from it and what you build after it. Google Maps, another thing that came from creative playtime at work. So it's really important to let your brain roam free, let it run around, right? Like, it's like having a dog, like you let them run loose and they're just like, oh my God, yes, this is amazing. And then they tire themselves out and they're like, okay, I'm ready to lay down now. It's really important to give yourself that creative playtime. And what did I say? Oh yeah, I said, let yourself wander into the endless meadow of what if. That's what I wrote here. Just let yourself go. Let yourself be free. I mean, if you even need to take your bra off while you're doing it, like feel the freedom of breaking up that monotony of what it is that we do every single day. So yesterday was like that for me, where I woke up and I was like, okay, I need some creative time. And I had woke up with the intent of filming this video yesterday, but I just woke up and I was like, no, I need to be creative. I need some free time. And that's where that self-awareness comes in, is I was just like, no, I need to let my brain just go. Like, it just needs to go. And it did all day. Was not prepared for that, but was not mad at that either, because I walked away with this brilliant idea, which I'm not sharing yet because it only just came into play yesterday. But it's so good. And I was just so excited about it. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. But my brain was just like, yes, bitch, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Here's this idea and here's that idea and here's this idea and this is amazing and let's do this, and you can build off the skill set that you have and you can build off what it is that you know at work. And like, it was just really fun and really freeing to let myself go that way yesterday. And I'm very happy I did it, because I was exhausted when I went to bed, but I woke up feeling incredibly refreshed today. And I was like, no, today I'm going to be back on track and record YouTube videos today and loop, I call it looping, not batching, if you guys know that, because I loop through a completion arc. I don't batch sections of the stages, right? So I'm going to be doing a lot of looping today, since I did nothing yesterday in terms of content creation and stuff like that. But man, yesterday was so needed. It was so worth it. It was just so awesome. And I'm glad I gave myself that creative playtime, because I woke up feeling very refreshed today. and I'm feeling more on it than I have been the last 2 weeks or so, which means I was getting a little burned out. So the next thing we're going to talk about is rest. Listen, you got to rest. And that looks different for everybody. So I'm not sitting here saying like sleep. No. Rest is totally different for everybody. Sometimes it's just, you know what, every day I'm going to go outside on the front porch at 6 a.m. and have a cup of coffee. And while the world is waking up around me, I'm just going to enjoy the peace, right? It could look like that. And that could be refreshing. Could be so refreshing and so restful that it makes it easier to be starting your day afterwards. Sometimes rest is the non-optional biological requirement of sleep. Sometimes you just need to sleep in and not set an alarm clock and just let your body wake up natural. Sometimes it's giving yourself one day a month where you sleep in, you take a bubble bath, you do a little self-caring, and whatever that looks like for you, getting your nails done. I get my eyelashes done. Reading a book that has nothing to do with your business, like whatever it is that looks like for you, give yourself some rest, right? And, what is not rest is lying awake, scrolling through, trying to monetize something, trying to think of ideas, engaging. Like your brain needs actual recovery time. It needs a break from the monotony. So it is really important to incorporate rest, whatever that looks like for you, into your routine. So it's not laziness. I just want to throw that out there. It's maintenance. And it's really important that you maintain your body and your mind so that you can be the best entrepreneur that you could possibly be. This next one was very difficult for me to learn because I was just so in the groove of monetizing everything or thinking how I can monetize everything that I love to do, like photography, filmography, videography, and podcasting and writing and reading, which has turned into more research than reading lately. And all the things that I love to do, I've turned into some type of monetization at this point in time. So what do you do for fun? How do you have a hobby that has nothing to do with your business? So lately I've been considering taking up pottery. I found out there's a pottery studio near me. And I was just like, that takes so much of your mind, right? To A, learn something new, and B, like really focus on what it is that you're doing with your hands and watching the speed of, the table and just how much you're using in terms of clay and keeping it a certain amount of moist and stuff like that. Like there's so much that goes into focusing on pottery that I'm truly considering giving it a go because it would just turn everything else off for me. Like I would be able to hyper focus on the pottery and just go from there. And I would not want to monetize off of it. I know that I'm not going to be good at it. But I just think it's doing something different that has nothing to do with my business. It is so healthy to have a hobby. So healthy to have a hobby. And yes, this does include stamp collection. Yes, this does include collecting Magic the Gathering cards, which is something that I do. It involves me looking at something that has nothing to do with my business. And there are nights where my husband and I will hobby together, and he usually paints, and I usually, am working on my business at some point in time. But there are times I take a break and I work on my Magic the Gathering collection. There are times I take a break and I just like read a book for fun, like a creative book that's not affiliated with my business at all. It's more towards my reading goal for the year. And, it's another form of maintenance. It really is. Like, I don't think you should treat it like it's some type of luxury. Like, I think if you want to be in this for the long game of being an entrepreneur, like you have to let yourself be human in other places than just showing up for your business, showing up for your family, showing up for your full-time job, and then not leaving anything left for yourself. So, I just think it's very helpful to have a hobby. Now, for the longest time, I was playing piano outside of my business, and I try to learn languages. So I'm working on my French. I am working on Japanese, which I even went so far as to, I don't know if the computer will show it, and it's probably going to be backwards because I mirror this, but let's see if it shows it a little bit. I even got the keyboard. I got that committed. I got the keyboard that is American, English, and Japanese. That's how committed I am to learning Japanese right now. That's what I got for my keyboard. Is I ordered a Japanese American keyboard so that this way I can type on the computer. I can be involved in Japanese as best as possible. But that has absolutely nothing to do with my business. And it has everything to do with challenging myself, having fun, doing something different. And it's working. It's doing a really good job working. So I can't recommend having a hobby enough to make sure that you're not like taking the fun out of something because you're trying to monetize something, right? It's really okay to do something for fun and to allow it to be a pleasure and not business. Now this last one is, this last one was really difficult for me to learn. And I think I learned it more in the last few years after my ADHD diagnosis is, there is no universal playbook. And that's the point. There is no playbook that goes, this is how you be an entrepreneur. This is how you become successful. And Bob's your uncle. Everybody has different ideas. Everybody's brain works differently. Everybody has a different type of capacity that they can show up for. And, it's important to not follow everybody else's playbook because you're different. Even if you're in the same niche, as I've said before, even if you're in the same niche, you're a different human being. You're offering different services and products. And it's important to acknowledge that. I think what's important first is your mindset. You need to get over the hump with the mindset stuff. I'm getting more comfortable, excuse me. You need to get over that hump with the mindset stuff. Like you need to have a very good mindset about being an entrepreneur. You need to have a good head on your shoulders about being an entrepreneur, because if you don't do that for yourself, if you don't get over some of your bullshit, it's very difficult to get through the grit of being an entrepreneur, right? After you get over yourself in some capacities with the mindset stuff, which is true, a lot of the mindset stuff is you getting over yourself. And, if you want to grow long term, you will learn how to get over certain things. And it's certain like fears that are holding you back, certain attitudes that are preventing you from being more open. And I don't mean for that to be like so negative and accusatory, but it's true. There's a lot of stuff you have to get over being an entrepreneur before you can continue to be like this entrepreneur showing up. But the rest is tenacity, audacity, advocacy, and, that self-awareness that keeps you staying, on top of everything, so that this way you don't burn out, right? What did I put here? Yes. The grind and hustle narrative is so loud in entrepreneurship spaces that we have collectively forgotten that our brains are not machines. I write these like beautiful little poetic notes to myself. They are not designed for unrelenting output without rest, without play, without recovery. Listen, you got to give yourself a break. You do. There is a difference between showing up for something that is challenging, and there is a difference between that and making something difficult for yourself because you're not giving yourself a break. You need to know that like showing up on a rough day is a genuine act of courage, and you need to give yourself credit for that, but you also need to give yourself a break. You need to have rest too. And you can't show up fully for clients. You can't show up fully for yourself. You can't show up fully for your family, anything like that, unless you selfishly take care of yourself. It's how it is. And I know that there's like people pleasers out there, and pro people out there where they're just like, no, I'm here for people. Yes, help people, but you have to consider yourself as people too. You have to help yourself too, because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you possibly show up for everybody else, right? So that's just some food for thought to think about when it comes to this whole burnout thing that we're talking about here. So as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to remind you that the Mess Hall meets once a month. It is a community for day one entrepreneurs who are just getting started, who maybe took a long break and are getting back into the game, whatever it is that looks like. But the Mess Hall is a monthly community. It's just $5 for each session. This past week, I just did a workshop on creating a rate sheet. I might have a guest next one. I haven't decided yet, but, because some people's schedules are a little hairy. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's really important that you realize that burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a signal that you are exhausted and you need a break. And if you need a break with a community, the Mess Hall is 100% there for you. I hope you join us. Our last session was a lot of fun. And yeah, so I think the last session I did, the scheduled one, nobody showed up for. I'm going to be completely honest, nobody showed up for that. But then I had a couple people message me and I did like a one-off real quick. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, the actual scheduled thing, nobody showed up for. And I was just more so proud of myself for continuing to put myself out there that I wasn't even upset that nobody came. Like I was just like, I showed up. I showed up with everything ready to go. I put myself out there. I was marketing it all week and, nobody came, but that's okay. Like nobody can even know that it exists if you don't talk about it and you don't put yourself out there, which is something that I've been doing. And I'm very happy about that. So, but I would prefer to not be by myself next month, you guys. So sign up for the Mess Hall, only $5. And yeah, that's all I got. Please don't burn out. Please take care of yourself. Please make sure you identify where you need rest and to break up the monotony and give your brain a break. It deserves it. But thank you so much for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I will see you next time.